Members of Prince George Fire Rescue have shared their testimony with the coroner's inquest into the Lakeland Mills explosion. Among today's witnesses, current Chief John Iverson.
The explosion and fire in April 2012 wasn't the first time Prince George Fire Rescue responded to Lakeland Mills. Inside the courtroom, Fire Chief John Iverson was asked about a blaze in the Mills bag house on February 5th. Iverson said that fire was not investigated because it did not cause any structural damage. The next month, March 2012, Fire Prevention Officer Steve Feeney inspected the mill. He said it looked like it had been cleaned up. Feeney told the court the last time he'd been to Lakeland, he found unacceptable levels of dust. Quote, the worst he'd ever seen. On that November 2011 inspection, he took photos to document the dust. Feeney said he was also concerned that at the time, Lakeland didn't have a fire safety plan.
We've got to look at maybe not just here, but throughout the province to try to prevent these kinds of things, because in some ways it was an emerging issue. The whole issue of combustible dust.
BC Coroner's Service lawyer John Orr said he thinks it's unreasonable that now, nearly 3 years later, still no Prince George Mills have fire safety plans that fit the city's bylaw. Orr suggested there are 3 pillars to fire safety: regulation, education, and enforcement. The inquest will look at all of the testimony and evidence to make recommendations on how to prevent this type of tragedy in the future.
Surviving families are not represented by lawyers, and part of the role of Coroner's Counsel is to try to represent their interests as well, to make sure all their questions are answered. And in this case, the Chief Coroner also hired co-counsel for me, Alex Dutton, and she's worked really closely with the families to help me with that part. And she meets with them every day and reviews what's happening. And that's always the hardest part of an inquest, is devastation to the families.
Camille McDonald, CKPG News.